Yep, we're up. Here we are. Good morning, good morning. Pick up where we left off yesterday morning. Good morning, gang. Some familiar names, some new names. Picking up just where we left off yesterday. These are the color blocks, one of the color blocks for the print party room. This block has been going back and forth, you know. I used it yesterday morning here for carving, but of course, just when I shut the stream off yesterday, the block had to go back to the party room for being used, you know. We're running non-stop parties right now, October. It's just absolutely insane. The shop and the party room and the online orders, subscriptions, just everything has exploded. The clearing around these party blocks is a bit different from our normal work, you know. Normally we're printing, we're really careful not to bang around it so we can keep this fairly shallow. But in the party room, people are, you know, they don't know what they're doing, so the clearing has to be deeper. It's got to be farther away, and it's got to be deeper. Against the grain here. Everybody's still on the good mornings, is that it? I don't know how much of what I'm doing here needs explanation. The last few days I've been doing the same thing, talking about it, but do I need to run over again? Is there new people? So what this is one of our 4 blocks for the print that we do in our print party room. In our business, we have a place where people can come and make their own prints. So we have a set of 4 blocks in the room over there. Each block has its own brush, its rubbing tool, whatever. It's 4 stations. And people come down the stations coloring one by one by one. And they end up with a nice little print. It's a sort of a kid's folktale print, but it's something they've made by themselves. And the key point about it is we use some basic simple colors. There's a red block, a blue block, and a yellow block. But the print they get, the print that they end up making, has not just red, yellow, and blue, but it's got green, orange, purple, brown. A bunch of different colors come up from these blocks. Anyway, long story short, we've been doing this for 3 years, and some of these blocks are getting extremely worn. I don't know if you can see it. This should be a sharp edge on this block, but it's just worn. Look at that. Completely, totally round. It's been abused, beaten up for 3 years, daily. And what's been happening is they still print, actually. They still come up with a print like this. But what you get is stuff like this. See the white line at the bottom of this yellow? It's because the yellow block has just become smaller. It's become rounded off, and it no longer fills the space between the lines. So people in the party are starting to think they've made a mistake. They thought they got the registration wrong or something like this. And no, it's that the block is wearing out. So the staff has really been bugging me, Dave. They're not having a good experience at the parties. Fix these blocks. So I've done so. We fixed the red, we fixed the blue, and now it's the turn of the yellow. The key block actually is still pumping along really, really well. It's worn a little bit, but it still prints cleanly. Tens and tens of thousands of copies have come out of that room. Seemed really tired. Yesterday I was beaten up. I'm really sorry. Yesterday I was tired. I had a good rest last night. I'm back to normal. Yeah, wet. So those blocks wear much more when they're wet all the time. So in our normal work, we never see the kind of wear that we're getting in the party room. Never. Yesterday, man, I don't even want to think about yesterday. The last few days. October is just, we knew what was coming. We've had the experience before. I don't know what the people out there know about what happened this last summer. Our life changed totally dramatically on June 26. It's good news. Nothing but a good news story. Our business here in Asakusa is seasonal. Our normal business is not seasonal. We do subscription prints all year long, so we have a good steady base of work to do and a good steady base of income. That's why we do prints as subscriptions, so that we can maintain our business steadily all year long. But since opening the Asakusa shop, things have become, on top of the subscriptions, things have become seasonal, of course. Japan is very much busier in the spring, when people come to see the cherry blossoms and stuff, and the weather is good. And it's busier in late September, October, early November, when, it's maple leaf viewing, but also good weather for tourism. So after opening a success shop, we've learned that it's a cyclical business. No problem. So we knew October was going to be busy. On top of that, though, something happened in June. I've talked about it before. Whatever. June 26, the Google people changed some of the algorithms. I mean, they're doing this all the time. We usually hear the story. Google changed their algorithm and my website got pounded and whatever, blah, 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 blah. And they changed something in the algorithm, the way they recommend videos. Or they're probably changing it every day, but they changed it that day in a way that impacted us. And before June 26, we have a bunch of YouTube videos, nearly 100 videos now on my channel. I was getting about like 200 views a day, which I thought was kind of cool. 200 people every day are looking at my videos. Wow. I'm not Justin Bieber. It's okay, whatever. I don't need 2 million, but 200 people a day were watching the videos. Then on that day, June 26, something changed, and starting that evening, we went to a rate of 20,000 a day. Literally, 20,000 people a day accessing one or another of my videos. And how they were doing it, it's, when you're watching a video, there's stuff on the right-hand side, the recommended blah, blah, blah by YouTube, And up till then, I guess they'd been sort of recommending my stuff for people who had maybe searched for Japan or woodblock or whatever, something specifically about my work. But after that change, it wasn't like that. They were recommending to people all over the place. And I'm getting emails from people like, I don't know how, whatever, YouTube gave this to me, but wow, this is fantastic, and blah, 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 blah. 20,000 a day. Now, it hasn't stayed like that. We are now down to about 10,000 a day views. And it's changed our life. There's no day goes by now here. Literally, there's no day when there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever people come up the stairs in the Asakusa shop. And we're like, hello, come in. Do you know about us? And they say, yeah, I've been watching the YouTube videos. It's great stuff. Wow, I'm really so cool. Look at that. There's the seat. There's the dog. I do most of the videos sitting in the same chair. And when people come in the shop, they can see the chair and they take pictures of it and the dog. And it's just so cool. In the middle of some bizarre fantasy. I'm not complaining at all. I'm so happy. These people are happy to be here. I'm happy to have them here. I'm happy that they're watching my work, and But it has just exploded. There's one of those videos now, the one about visiting the old carver, Ito-san. It's now over 500,000 views, Wow, whatever. So anyway, long story short, this is now October, and a whole bunch of people who probably would have been in Japan anyway have made visit to our shop a part of their Japan experience because of YouTube showing them who we are and what's going on. They don't all buy prints, so it's okay. People come and see us and talk, and they're happy. Any number do. They do take a print party maybe, or they buy a print. Or not, it doesn't matter. But all of us, we are just exhausted now. Exhausted. And mixed feelings. We're happy about the business. We're happy to see people. And all of our printers now, the two girls upstairs in-house, the Kubota-san workshop we're using outside, all of our printers now are just on non-stop call. As soon as you finish one, just get started on the other one. We need more printers. Ayumi-san has just left us. This is the worst possible time for Ayumi-san to leave to go and make a baby. Somebody's asking modern ball bearing barons. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of experience with them. I've got one or two. I tried some years ago. When I was making my big scroll print, it was so big I was getting just exhausted. I needed more power. So that's where ball bearing barons come in. A lot of 20th century printmakers use them because 20th century printmakers, modern work, they're using really thick paper and some of their prints are really quite big. So they need the assistance, the power. A ball bearing baron just helps put more power in, instead of having to do it totally manually. I don't know about wearing down the blocks. If you've got a good thick paper, and also using the ball bearing baron, usually put a plastic sheet to help protect it. So I don't think it's a problem, but I don't personally have a whole lot of experience. Oh, I see questions all over the place. I can't know. Actually, let's check the we've got that question box, but I haven't been hearing the ding. So, no, there's no questions in there. So, I'm a bit nervous that perhaps the question system isn't working. Oh, Jed's here. Good morning, Jed-san. Hey, Jed-san, while I got you here, I finally got the information, the backer things from the Kickstarter. And it's okay to say this with everybody listening. It took a ton of work to get them integrated because every one of those different files from the Kickstarter database was structured in a different way. I thought I could set it up for one and bring them into my database. Couldn't do that. Every one was structured with a different table setting. Those guys are insane. Anyway, it's done. Last night, all the Kickstarter backer information is now integrated into the database, and the survey will go tonight, Jed-san. If there's any other Kickstarter viewers watching, the survey finally is ready. It'll go tonight. It says, Dave, for some reason the text below your video is gone. Well, I'm seeing it. I can turn it off. Now it's gone. I can turn it back on. Dave's working on a Sunday. What do you mean Dave's working on a Sunday? I work every day. The shop is here. So what am I going to do? Take a day off? Cameron, who works for us, we will never see him here on a Sunday. He's quite a religious guy, and he won't be here at all. But the rest of us, no, whatever. What day of the week doesn't matter. I'll be working the 25th of December. In Japan, it's Christmas Day is just another day. Anyway, I better leave that a little bit. Now that Jed's in the stream here, maybe you guys can ask a couple of things. I know Jed's coming to Japan shortly. He's going to be coming for an art trip. He's going to be doing some sketching and drawing up in the mountains. He's been doing the family thing really heavily the last little while. He's got a chance to get away. So he's coming here for a few days to do some sketching. Ideas for future projects. Nothing top secret yet, but nothing we can talk about yet. But while he's here, I'm thinking one day we should be together here on Twitch. So you might pop him some suggestions or questions or ideas about how we might do that. Or Jed's not super comfortable with the idea about being on TV and stuff like that. But if we could do something useful in a way that's not threatening or not difficult. So suggestions welcome. Are we close enough for the camera? I think so, right? If I come too close, I'll end up being out of the view stream. Out of the viewport. hear how crispy this block is. You know, it's good news, bad news. It's nice and clean and crispy, but boy, that would split really easily if I'm not careful. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Anyone famous at Nintendo seen your work that you know of? I don't know about famous, but we've received visits from many people at Nintendo. And I'm not Nintendo Japan because they don't talk to me so much, but I've had visits from whatever, I don't know the exact title, and a vice president of marketing for Europe or sales manager for North America or whatever, stuff like this. A bunch of these people have come through. Give me their Meishi, and a couple of them, one guy, the European guy, he showed me his iPhone, the picture of his office, our stuff is all over the wall. We've never talked to the lawyers at Nintendo, don't expect to, but the people at Nintendo know about us and know who we are and know what we do. You know, they've clearly made a decision here and there to leave us alone. We've talked about this before lots. Jed and I don't feel in any way that we're hurting Nintendo or the other companies whose material we feed on. Jed's had experiences, maybe he's talking about them in the stream, I don't know, he goes to these Comic Cons and he's met many of the people who are game executives at the game companies. They'll come up to him, give him their Meishi, chat about it, ask for a selfie together, you know. These are people from the game company whose work he's got on his booth there at the comic convention. You know. One of the things we hear, we think about the Nintendo thing, and this is a suggestion that comes up all the time, both from people that are in the shop here or whatever, is that Nintendo, for example, the next version of Zelda, whatever it is, you know, they've got the new one for the Switch, but whatever comes out next, take it and move the game to medieval Japan, you know, put Zelda into an ukiyo-e context, you know. And don't come and sue Jed, hire Jed, let him do it, you know, whatever. I think the world would go crazy for one of those Nintendo games set in the world that Jed's created, you know. Maybe they're thinking of doing it, but they can't because they're worried that Jed would sue them. I don't know. Legend of Zelda, Edo era. the wood grain here, it's nearly flat in many of these places. So when the wood grain is a strong angle, then you know one way is safe and the other way is bad, is not safe. But when the grain is nearly flat, the board happens to be cut exactly along the plane of the wood grain. And it's difficult both ways, actually. Am I out of the view? Sorry about that. missed this one. Boom. Jed's on the way, is he? Or for the kids. See you soon, Jed. Should be fun next week. Is Jed still there? Is he gone? Is there any way to tell? He may have just gone quiet on the chat, but still be watching. I don't know. Yeah, he said he was gone, but I'm not sure. He might actually still be here, just gone quiet. Not on the viewer list. Okay. So I can mention, he's coming here next week. And some while ago, he asked me, Jed, Dave, can you try and find me some new brushes? He uses brushes to do the drawing of these prints. Perhaps some of you think that he does all this stuff on computers and there's no actual real analog work involved. That's not true. I know he does composition and layout using computer tools, Photoshop, whatever. But when the design is done, when the composition is done, he actually does the thing with a physical brush, a Japanese brush. Dip it in ink, splash, boom, 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 boom. So composition first, prints that out enlarged, and then uses a light table. And people think he's just tracing. He's not tracing. He's then drawing with a brush fluidly and silkily and smoothly. Just simply the composition and general layout is there as a guide for him. So he separates the two jobs, the composition and the actual liquid brushing. So no problem. So he needs good Japanese brushes, and they're difficult to find in where he lives. So he was over here last year or something. He bought a couple of brushes while he was here. Then he discovered one good brand name, Kyodo. He likes this brand name of brushes that he finds really, really good. So he asked me if I could get some ready for him. He asked me to buy them for him. He'll pay me whatever when he gets here, blah, blah. So we did. We got a couple. We went to the Kyodo website. We know the ones he bought last time, so we do that. And then I had a little bit of a sort of insight. I went to Yahoo Auctions. I don't know if you know, here in Japan, eBay, it doesn't exist. They tried, they came and they left. It didn't work. Here in Japan, to speak of auctions is to speak of Yahoo Auctions. And it's very, very common these days for stuff that used to be very useful in Japan some years ago, but it's not used so much anymore. For example, Japanese scrolls or whatever. Every house is full of stuff from an older era. And as the old grandparents die and whatever, the grandchildren put stuff on Yahoo auctions. So anything traditional like that, there's lots of it on Yahoo auctions. So I Googled the specific kind of brush. I went on the auction site to find the brushes that he's looking for. You know, little old ladies have been doing calligraphy and they're no longer doing it. Their kids put the stuff on Yahoo auctions. I found a ton of them. So don't tell him, but when he's here, I've got some packages of brushes for him. Enough for a lifetime. It's too bad there aren't more printmaking tools in that category. They come up now and then. Last week we talked about this. There was a group of barons. Our rubbing tool came up last week. And unfortunately, I wasn't the only person looking for them, and they went very, very high. So I backed out even. It must have been a collector, some crazy collector. We want them to use, so, you know, it's not just for collectability. You know. So I had to back out of that one. But these brushes, almost nobody's interested in this sort of stuff. It's just too much. The supply is way, way, way larger than the demand. So maybe if when Jed's here next week, if we are doing that Twitch stream, maybe or whatever, under my chair or something, I'll have a little bundle of brushes and give him his present on TV or something. Who knows? I keep wandering out of the field of view. I'm sorry. I go down, 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 down to the left, you know. No carving light. And at the moment I don't need it. In a few minutes, actually, when I get to do some more banging, I'll put it on. At the moment, the work I'm doing right now, up to the edge of these corners, I can see where I am. I don't need the three-dimensional view. But yeah, somebody's asking, you know, why don't I use my light? It's just a bit too bright here. You know, when I'm back to the banging, I'll use the light because it allows me to see that the bottom of these things are smooth and clear, and I can see the raking light. But at the moment, you know, what I've been doing the last half an hour or so, going around the edges of these shapes, hasn't needed the light, and it seems to be too bright for the camera, right? My fingers pick up the light and it gets all distorted. So we're okay for time for a while, right? Are we? What is it? I can't see. Coming up to 9 o'clock. We're good for a while. Today's Sunday here. The shop staff are going to be Kawai-san will be here, and Nakamura-san will be here, the young lady. And I'll be on party duty too. There's no way. 3 of us. It'll need 3 of us today. So luckily it's a rainy day here in Tokyo, so that'll cut things down a bit. It'll keep it a bit quieter. I say luckily. What am I saying? Like we have too many customers. Please don't bother us. That's not what I meant. But interesting. Luckily, what did I say then? It's just getting to be too much. So. way, wrong way. Lots of conversation there, eh? I'm not catching a tenth of this. I'll catch it later, of course, whatever. Well, was Hokusai just a painter? Yes, he's just a designer. I say just, he was a designer. He didn't touch the paper or the blocks or anything. I think in his younger days he was carving a bit. But the famous Hokusai that you know was a designer. That was his job, designing. So if things continue to the future the same way as they did in the past, you know, when Hokusai's prints, the old famous ukiyo-e of the Edo time that we know, we remember the names of the designer. Hokusai or Utamaro Hiroshige, you might know some of the famous names. Nobody knows the names of the craftsmen who made them. Back in the old days, nobody would have thought about putting the craftsmen's names on the prints. In some rare cases, the carver's name or the carver's workshop appears on the prints or books, but in most cases nothing. So if history follows previous patterns, in the case of these ukiyo-e heroes prints, it's Jed's name. Jed will be remembered, but not those of us who actually make the prints, you know, whatever. It's a different era and YouTube is here and, you know, whatever. But in the old days, it was the designer. The other guys were just the printing company who made the things. It's sort of the same now. You know, you go and watch a movie, right? You remember the you know the director's name, I guess. But do you know the name of the company that did the film processing in the background and stuff like this? Of course not. We get this in the shop all the time. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic here or to be snide to anybody, but there are people, you know, who, of course, just simply don't know the history. And they'd be looking at prints in our shop, whatever, just the Great Wave, for example, you know, and the hook designed by Hokusai, but made by us, you know. And, you know, they'd ask us, is this an original Hokusai? And we have to try and explain that no, of course not. And then even when they look in the older section of the shop where we have older prints, you know, is this an original such and such? And in that section of our shop, they are originals. They're Meiji era prints or Edo era prints. They are originals. And then the question, was it made by this person? Well, no, it was designed by a certain person. He never actually touched the physical object at all, you know. And there are people who, oh, no, okay, well, I don't want anything to do with that, you know. Because the Western concept is that a thing like an art object is the single creation of the, you know, the creative genius, you know. And that's not how it was in this culture. It was total confusion about this in many, many fields, you know. It's sort of the same thing, you know, you got an iPhone in your hand there. Did Apple make this? No, of course not. They designed it, and other people make it for them, you know. Okay, we're getting there, you know. Actually, now look at this. That's all cleared. That's all cleared. I should be done the next few minutes. What time is it? We're still okay? I can't see. Oh, no problem. 9:06, whatever. I'll be finishing this boy now. Then a little bit more clearing. It should be done. So what's the schedule coming up? I know today's Sunday. Shop's going to be crazy busy. I know already. There's not even any hope of even thinking about a stream in the afternoons recently. It's just whatever. I regret even sort of starting that. For the foreseeable future, I cannot do an afternoon stream, at least at that time. That stream I was doing started at 5:30, and our shop closes at 5:30, and there's just no way. There's been so much going on. Get back into November, whatever, when things quieten down, I very much think we can pick that up again. But for the foreseeable future, meaning the next few weeks, I cannot do an afternoon stream. It's just, not possible. But I want to keep doing the morning streams. There should be no barrier to them. The barrier there is going to be what work I have to do. In the same situation as last week, the work mostly that's waiting for me right now is desk work. As you heard me mentioning to Jed, I've got right now in front of me now, I've got to get the Kickstarter campaign paperwork done. I've got to send all the backer surveys. Then I'll have to collate that information, find out which person wants which print. You know, it's a bunch of desk work, which to a large extent is automated, but not completely. Then today's the 15th. I've got to do the billing for the subscription prints today. We bill them twice a month. You know. Then I've got a ton of checking. All the prints, I can maybe do that on stream. I've got a pile of prints here that need checking, that our printers are finished, that I have to check over before we send them to Ome for shipping. It's paperwork, which is not stuff on stream. I haven't got the New Year's design yet from our friend Jed. Once that comes, I can carve that. So I don't have a stable library of work waiting on this desk right now. So. What I should do is try and jump ahead on the octopus. You know, there's just that bit of hair carving left to do. So what I should do is take one day, finish that hair carving, and then what I can do is do the color separations for the octopus print. And that means I'll have color carving work for that, and that'll be twitchable. And that's weeks and weeks and weeks of work. But I can't do it until I finish that key block, that last bit of thatch, that last bit of hair. So I don't know, I'm trying to juggle all these things, what to do. Actually, speaking of the octopus print too, the color blocks, a lot of that information is still going to have to come from the Photoshop file. a lot of that seaweed on the print is not defined by the key block. So I'm going to have to go back to the original, his original, and trace again. So there's lots more tracing still has to be done on that print. And all the lettering. So that might be something. If I could see a way to get the iPad screen. Let me think about that. If I can get the iPad screen onto the broadcast, then I can trace it online. Whatever, I have to think about that, see what I can work out. Someone else had a bunch of people shouting. I guess it's advertising. There must be Sunday morning, early morning. Maybe there's an early morning market or something down the street. I can't tell. This guy's calling for customers. Okay, here. Lots of conversation. You guys go for it. Sorry. Thank you, thank you. What can I say? Leave me alone to get to work. hard part. It's a hard block, with some parts of it are even harder. This is a hard section here. Grain's backwards too. Oh, no. Difficult grain. Doesn't want to go one way, doesn't want to go the other way. Difficult, difficult. Now, what's the time here? We got something else, 9:17. We got about 10 minutes left, I guess, right? I'm on the last little bit of clearing here, but there's something else that I wanted to show everybody here tonight. Just a second here. Let me finish this last little bit of clearing. I've got more bang, bang, bang to do. I will save that for later. But right now, let me just get this done. Okay, we were talking a minute ago about Yahoo auctions. I said I'm trying to find, tools and brushes and stuff like that. It's really, really, really few and far between that anything useful to us comes up. Those brushes for Jed, that's an exception. Everybody's got brushes. But for our work, the traditional printmaking, the old barons, the old brushes, whatever, very little of it comes up on the auctions. If you find a box of old tools, they just look like garbage. Nobody would even know what it was. But sometimes what come up on the auctions are woodblocks, hangi in Japanese, woodblocks. And last week an auction came up for a couple of old blocks, 3 of them. And let me show you something. Let me clean up some junk here. Here. Okay, this is going to be finished later. That's good. Okay. Let me get my mic off because I got to go fetch something. Hang on 1 second here. Let me zoom out. Hang on a minute. Let me go fetch something. Boxers! Not today, sorry. Oh, so. Now, how am I going to do this? Everything's so crowded here. Mic back on. How am I going to do this? What I should maybe do, suppose I switch to the other camera. Hang on a sec. If I do it this way, that might work better. You can see in the distance, that's the camera that's shooting down onto my bench that you normally see. This is the camera in my iMac, in my laptop. Anyway, long story short, auction came up for some wood blocks. There was 3 or 4 of them. Oh, I put it a bit too far away. Hang on a second. Let's give me this one. Yo, shoot. That isn't chaos. Okay. Are we still here? Are we still here? Where are we going? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. What happened? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. We're still here, okay? Okay, good, good. Anyway, auction came up for 3 wood blocks. Actually, there was 4 of them. One is still up there on the website. They were expensive. The guy put them up and they were about like 40,000 yen. No, 45,000 yen each, which is about, it's over $400. Which is whatever. How do I tell the story? I should have prepared, we'll do this as a David's Choice video later. I'll prepare the story more properly, but right now I can't. There was a series of prints published back in the old days, before multicolor ukiyo-e was invented. It was just they had blocks for printing the black. They printed that, then people in the publisher's house just did it with color, with brushes, and then sold the prints. So there's a whole series of prints. It comes about the 1600s. They were big prints, about this big, and they were done in black and white. Anyway, the auction was for 3 wood blocks like this. Now, these weren't for blocks from the 1600s. These were clearly reproductions, 20th century reproductions. But anyway, cool stuff. It's a publishing company, Takamizawa, that went bankrupt some years ago, and somebody has found a bunch of their blocks. So they were there. One was 30,000, they were 45,000, 45,000, and these prints are about this big. So I bid on one of them, the one that was cheapest, 30,000. And I was expecting, you know, like a box like this to arrive. And that's not what happened. What happened was a little package like this arrived. And I'm like, what's going on? I open it up, and inside there is indeed the wood block. How do we get some light here? The wood block for one of those old print designs. But instead of being that big, the carver and the company reduced it down to this size. So they just made a reproduction. This is one of those old pre-color era ukiyo-e prints. At first I thought, oh my God, I've screwed up. I go back to the auction. Has he cheated me? You know, in the auction, in really tiny type there, it says, you know, X inches by Y inches, whatever. So, all right, $300 is more than I might have liked to have paid for this. But when we look at it, it is spectacular. There's hair carving, and there's hairs on the hairs in some places. We'll have to scan this later and put it up. But some of the carving is just spectacularly beautiful and delicate. There's nobody, I can't do this. There's nobody alive here that can do this. This must be immediate post-war, 1950s, 60s, or whatever. And it's a little treasure. So anyway, I go back to the auction again and look at these other ones. And I realize now, take a look at the bottom of the auction where it's got the sizes listed. And it was only one of them that was small. The other 2 listed there were the actual larger size. Too much money though, $450 for each one. You know? So now that I know who the guy is, because we bought one from him, we wrote an email and said, look, let's negotiate. I can't pay that much for them, but can we do this? He made a deal. I paid him, and we got the block. This is Nakamura-san, Kawai-san, right? Christmas. And here we have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And this thing is on a piece of wood. Do you hear the bell sound? I would die to get wood like this now. And in fact, the back side of it is unused. And I'm thinking, And it's in beautiful condition. It's been printed, but not overly printed. So it cost me, whatever, nearly $300 each for these things. But this is a real, real find. And of course, what we're going to do is when we get some time, get some paper ready, print it, put it in the shop. It'll take a while for the money to come back, but it doesn't matter. It's a bit curious, paying for something like this that I could make myself. But there's no way I could make it in the time that it would take to do this. That's one. There's a second one here. I won't open it because I don't want to scratch and bang these things. So I'll just leave it like this. Later on, we're going to do a David's Choice video about this with proper images, proper stuff like that. But get it. The image is, excuse me, the image is a family called Kaigitsudo. This would be Kaigitsudo Ando, I think. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, Kaigitsudo Ando is the father of the group. And these guys worked back in the 1690s into the 1700s. This was one of the earliest precursors of ukiyo-e, one of the earliest prints that were made, before they had worked out how to do color printing. They were just printing in black and waiting for it to be painted later. Anyway, okay, that's just a little teaser here. We'll talk about that later in a nicer video. Guys, good morning. Good morning. Just finishing up here. Just showing everybody the present here. So. That wood is so nice. Did you hear it? It sounds like a bell.
Sounds like a bell.
Oh, no, really, it sounds like a bell. It's just so seasoned so well. We can't buy wood like this, no matter how much money we pay. What do you think? Should we carve it?
You can use.
You can use the back side,
You will make a big one. Your own.
Oh yeah, I did already. I have a Kaigitsudo at home. I did. That was one of the first prints I made. So I did one of this series myself years ago. It's one of my first training prints. So. Anyway, that's enough. There's a ton of work waiting for us now. It's going to be a very, 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 very busy Sunday here in Asakusa. As I said, there's no way there's going to be a stream tonight. The shop is way, way, way too busy. Tomorrow morning, I guess I'll finish off the one you've seen. I've got print checking to do. We'll find something to do on stream tomorrow morning. And beyond that, I can't see. Thanks for watching. I'll have a good look at the stream, the chat yet later on. Thanks very much again. See you later. Step one. Wait a minute. We'll go back to this one, I guess. Yes, here we go. Turn off that. See you. And away we go.